World Cup 2022 is the culprit of Real's decline. After returning from Qatar, many pillars of Real Madrid were no longer themselves. That is the reason why coach Carlo Ancelotti's team has been unsuccessful since the turn of 2023. Real Madrid is going through the early days of 2023 in a way that couldn't be worse. Through 4 matches in the first month of the new year, they only won 1 victory. It was a hard-fought victory with a score of 1-0 against third-tier team Casareno in the Spanish Kings Cup. Real Madrid is showing weakness against rival Barca on most fronts. In La Liga, they are ranked second with 3 points behind coach Xavi Hernandez's teachers and students. Most recently, in the final of the Spanish Super Cup in Qatar, the Royal team was beaten by Barca with a score of 3-1. Real Madrid has had a dream start to the season. So what is the reason why they plunge without breaking, even though the season has not gone halfway? In fact, coach Carlo Ancelotti has had the answer to this question for a long time. In many interviews, the Italian strategist always complains about the 2022 World Cup finals taking place in the winter. Carletto thinks this is a very strange season. Because the 2022 World Cup finals interrupted the national championships, the plans of the teams were completely turned upside down. In particular, many Real Madrid players, who were playing in form before, were cut off to become mediocre after returning from Qatar, typically striker Federico Valverde. There are 13 Real Madrid players who have been called up to prepare for the 2022 World Cup finals taking place in Qatar late last year, in which Karim Benzema is a special case. He had to leave the training camp of the French team just a few days before the opening match due to not being able to recover from injury. Although immediately returned to Real Madrid, the reigning Golden Ball was still on the list of participants. Most of the pillars of Real Madrid have been injured, or have fallen in form, or lost their spirits after returning from Qatar. Benzema is a prime example. The French striker recently had to bitterly say goodbye to the national team. Benzema said that he was bullied by coach Didier Deschamps. That is why, despite being able to recover from injury in time to play in the group stage, Real Madrid's number 1 striker was still returned. Also greatly affected mentally after the 2022 World Cup, there are many other Real Madrid stars. It is midfielder Antonio Rudiger, who has been criticized a lot for his attitude in Qatar and is part of the reason why Germany has to carry the suitcase home early. It is also defender Dani Carvajal, who has suffered many heartaches when he did not win the trust of coach Luis Enrique and only played a super sub in Spain. In addition, many other Real Madrid players have also fallen into disrepair after the 2022 World Cup. Luka Modric is 37 years old, playing with high intensity in Qatar, so he is physically exhausted. Federico Valverde and Eduardo Camavinga are no longer themselves. In particular, since the turn of 2023 until now, Valverde has not scored any more goals, although before that he was one of the most effective strikers of Real Madrid this season with 8 goals. It is also impossible not to mention the FIFA virus that has made Real Madrid lose 2 pillars. Specifically, midfielder David Alaba and midfielder Aurelien Tchouameni were both injured not long after returning from the 2022 World Cup. They all suffered thigh injuries, the result of overworked competition. Undoubtedly, the 2022 World Cup is the culprit that makes Real Madrid derailed from the winning track. Ancelotti needs to use Asensio more. Marco Asensio is being wasted on the bench. The number of minutes he has played since the beginning of the season so far is only 26% of the total minutes that Real Madrid have played in the 2022-23 season. Meanwhile, Asensio played very impressively in the 2022 World Cup in Spain's shirt, especially when kicking virtual 9.